Imagine you're at the NSH convention, surrounded by hundreds of histotechs, all tired, carrying swag bags, and probably looking for coffee. Your poster needs to cut through all that noise and grab attention. Your poster's main job is to communicate your research effectively, even in that chaotic environment. It's not just about presenting data, it's about making that data accessible and engaging. You want people to stop, read, and understand your work quickly. This means every element on your poster must serve a clear purpose. We'll explore how to achieve this, starting with a common pitfall. The cardinal sin of poster design is shrinking your font to cram in more words. This is a common mistake and it instantly makes your poster unreadable. When you shrink the font, you're essentially telling your audience that your content isn't important enough to be easily seen. Think of the squint test. If a 60-year-old lab director has to squint or step within 12 inches of the board to read your methodology, they will just keep walking. Instead of shrinking, you must distill your message. This means cutting words, not just making them smaller. We'll see a clear example of this in the next slides, showing how to transform a cluttered poster into something much more effective. Here we see an example of a poster that falls into the trap of shrinking instead of distilling. It's packed with text, making it overwhelming and difficult to read from a distance. The problem isn't the amount of information, it's how that information is presented. A busy conference environment demands clarity and conciseness. This before example shows what happens when you prioritize quantity over readability. Now, let's look at how we can fix this. This after example demonstrates the power of distilling your content. We've cut down the text significantly, focusing on the most crucial information. Notice how much more inviting and readable it is now. This isn't about dumbing down your research. It's about making it digestible. We've prioritized key takeaways, ensuring that even a quick glance provides valuable insight. This transformation sets the stage for effective visual design, which we'll discuss next. Designing for the eye means creating a clear visual hierarchy that guides your audience through your poster. This isn't just about aesthetics. It's about directing attention. Think about how you want people to read your poster. What information should stand out first, second, and third? We achieve this through strategic use of white space, contrast, and thoughtful placement of elements. White space on a poster is like the mounting media on a slide. If there isn't enough, everything dries out and becomes unreadable. A well-designed poster uses these principles to create an intuitive reading order, making your research accessible and impactful. We'll dive deeper into reading order on the next slide. When you're at the NSH convention, surrounded by hundreds of posters and massive vendor booths, your poster's job is to grab attention and guide the eye. This isn't just about making things look pretty. It's about creating a clear path for your audience to follow. Think about how you naturally scan a page. Your eyes follow a certain order, and we want to ensure your poster directs that gaze. You're competing with tired attendees carrying those swag bags and again looking for coffee, so your message needs to be immediate. If you don't establish a clear reading order, your audience will just glance, get confused, and then move on. We're building on our discussion of visual hierarchy to ensure your message lands exactly where it should. Next, we'll explore how white space can amplify this effect. White space is your secret weapon for readability. It gives your content room to breathe and prevents visual overload. Without enough white space, your poster becomes a wall of text, and that's the cardinal sin of shrinking fonts instead of cutting words. White space on a poster is like the mounting media on a slide. Again, if there isn't enough, then everything dries out and ultimately becomes unreadable. And again, if your 60-year-old lab director has to squint or step within 12 inches of the board to read your methodology, they will just keep walking. We've just talked about guiding the eye. Now let's talk about giving the eye a rest. White space improves readability and helps your audience focus on what truly matters. This leads us directly to why visuals often trump text. A well-chosen image or graphic can convey more information in seconds than paragraphs of text ever could. We've seen how reading order and white space create a clear path. Now let's fill that path with impactful visuals. In a busy convention hall, we're competing for attention, and visuals are your secret weapon. They grab attention, simplify complex ideas, and make your message memorable. It's about showing, not just telling, especially when your audience is tired and scanning quickly. But remember, these visuals must be accessible to everyone, which brings us to our next point. Accessibility isn't an afterthought. It's a fundamental part of good design that ensures your message reaches everyone. We've focused on making your content clear and engaging. Now we must ensure it's universally understood. This means using good contrast, providing alt text for images, and never relying on color alone to convey meaning. For example, if you make your control group green and your experimental group red on a bar chart, a judge with red-green color blindness sees two identical gray bars and cannot grade your data. It's about being inclusive and thoughtful in every design choice you make. Now we'll look at how our accessible template helps you achieve this. All right, let's talk about the accessible template itself. This isn't just a suggestion. It's a critical tool for ensuring your message reaches everyone, especially at a busy conference like NSH. Imagine the convention floor. Again, the attendees are tired. They're again carrying swag bags, maybe multiple. They're looking for something to eat or even just for a cup of coffee. And you're competing with the massive vendor booths for their attention. Your poster needs to grab them. This template forces good design choices, like using sufficient contrast and not relying solely on color to convey meaning. Remember that squint test we've been talking about. If a 60-year-old lab director has to squint or step within 12 inches of the board to read your poster, they will just keep walking. White space on a poster is like the mounting media on a slide. I cannot say that enough. If there isn't enough, everything dries out and becomes unreadable. This template ensures proper reading order, which is vital for screen readers and anyone scanning your content quickly. It's about making sure your visual hierarchy guides the eye rather than confusing it. We'll move on to how to handle figures and give proper credit next. So building on the accessible template, let's discuss figures and how to give them proper credit. Figures are powerful, but they must be accessible to truly communicate your message. This means every figure needs alt text, describing the visual content for those who can't see it. It also means ensuring your figures have sufficient contrast and don't use color as the only differentiator. For example, if you make your control group green and your experimental group red on a bar chart, then if a judge with that red-green color blindness sees two identical gray bars, they cannot grade your data. And of course, always credit your sources. Proper attribution is not just academic honesty. It's part of building trust and credibility with your audience. Now let's wrap things up with a summary and some next steps. So to summarize, we've covered the importance of accessibility in design, from the template to your figures. This isn't just about compliance, it's about effective communication for everyone. Your next steps are to apply these principles to your own work, ensuring every presentation you create is clear, concise, and accessible. Remember, good design is inclusive design. Thank you.